Hey there, this is a short video to help you guys get started with the final packet tracer for Net 125. And okay, so I've already started this thing, and whenever you open up your ITN final packet tracer assessment, then you're going to see, there's just one question and it'll tell you a little bit about it. Some do's and don'ts, and read these instructions before you get started. And then when you're ready, you're going to click on Launch, and what that's going to do is open up Cisco Packet Tracer in a new window. Move this to the side for the time being. Okay, so this is the scenario that I was given. There are 3 different scenarios you're going to see, but these instructions kind of apply to all of them. The numbers and the switches and routers that you're given are going to be different. Some of you may see this exact same packet tracer assessment. Okay, so first things first, we're going to take a look at the instructions. All right, here's our scenario, and here's our different devices that we're given to work with. And we've got a topology map in the top, and it shows me that PCA needs to connect to switch 1 via port 06. Use these ports just like in the other packet tracers we've done. If you use different ports, then you'll get marked off points. Let's see. Okay, so addressing requirements. All right, so the network we're given to work with is the 172.16.1.0 network, and it says here that we need one subnet, LAN 1. Okay, LAN 1 is this one that connects to switch 1, and that's going to be router port G001. Okay, so that's going to be one subnet, and it needs to have 60 host addresses, and then LAN 2 needs to have 20 host addresses. Okay, so first things first, before we do anything else, and okay, it tells us use the first address in LAN 1 for port 1 and use the first host address in LAN 2 for port 0 on the router. And the switch, we're going to give the switch a VLAN address, and we're going to use the second host address. And then host A, which is this PCA, and it's this computer right here, is going to have the last address in that subnet, and host B is going to have the last host address in the LAN 2 subnet. And you'll notice that LAN 2 doesn't have any switches or anything. All it is PCB connected directly to router 1. Okay, so before we do anything else, let's go ahead and do our subnets, because we're going to need to divide up this one subnet this one network into 2 different subnets. All right, now I've already done the math, and I've got it on this Word document right here. So the way this thing works, and we've done this before in previous packet tracers, it'll take you just a couple of minutes to knock this out, and you've got 2 hours to do this assignment, so you've got plenty of time, so don't get in a big hurry. Okay, so LAN 1 needs to have 60 hosts. So what we're going to do is we're going to use CIDR. We're going to subnet this thing up, and we're going to use 2 bits from the host addressing. And then for LAN 2, we need to have 20 hosts at least. So we're going to use 3 bits. And how this plays out, for the router port G001, we're going to give that guy an address of 172.16.1.1 and a subnet mask, because remember, we had to take 2 bits off of the host in order to subnet this thing. It's going to be 255.255.255.192. And we've seen this kind of thing before. The switch and the LAN 1 PC are going to have to use that exact same subnet, or else they won't work. Have to use the same subnet and the same subnet mask. So if my calculations are correct, the router port is going to have this address. The switch is supposed to have the second address, which is 1.2, and then the PC is supposed to have the last address, which is going to be .62. Because remember, .63 is going to be the broadcast address, and .64 is the address of the next network. The next network is going to be 1.64. So with that information in mind, we go on to the 0 port on router A, and remember, check your subnet mask, because this time we're going to be using /27, which is 255.255.255.224. Okay, that's going to be your subnet mask on LAN 2. And so the first host address on that LAN is going to be .65. The last address is going to be .94, because .95 is the broadcast address, and .96 is going to be the next network up from this one, which we're not going to be using for this. Okay, so here goes your IP addressing. Okay, so you might do that like on a piece of paper, or you can do it in a Word document. Ordinarily, I would just do it on paper, but that wouldn't let me show it to you guys on video. All right, now next thing we need to do is, is cable this guy up. So what I'm going to do is take a look. Oh, I've got this zoomed. I'm going to zoom out. Okay, whenever you first pull this thing up, you're going to see that your devices, in my case, the PCs were already on the table. If they weren't, then I would just grab them from the shelf over here and move them onto the table. I've put the router up here it was over here on the shelf, and I moved it over into the rack, and I moved the switch over into the rack, and then I've cabled this up, and let me zoom so you can see it. And since I've got 2 devices and 2 PCs, I connected console cables. The router A console cable goes to PCB, and the switch console cable goes to PCA. For no particular reason, I just did that. And that way I can switch back and forth, once I start my consoles. Okay, so router A. Okay, down at the bottom, you can't really see it. This is G000. Okay, so G000 connects to PCB. And you use just a straight through copper cable to do that. And it is connected over here to PCB. Let's see if I can scroll over so you can see it. Oh, too far. Man, this thing's picky. Okay, so I've got a console cable connected to the console port, and I've got my Ethernet cable connected to an Ethernet port, and those both go to the router. Zoom out a little bit. Okay, the switch. If you look at the switch here, I've got port 5 connected up here to my router port G001. And if you zoom this, then it'll make it easier to do those connections, because see how, like, whenever I move that connector, I have to plug it in whenever that port turns purple. All right. That cable was already there. I just wanted you guys to see how that thing lights up purple. And same thing with the console port. Going to connect that to there. Okay, now to connect the console port to switch A, right click on switch A and then click on inspect rear, and you're going to see the console port available right there. So you plug into that guy. Okay, so now we've got everything connected. We've got F6 going to PCA. We've got F5 going to G001. We've got G000 coming out of R1 connected to PCB. So now we've got our connections. Now you can't just click on these devices and bring up the command line. It won't let you do that. What you're going to have to do is go to PCB. Oh shoot, I forgot to turn on PCB. So let's turn that guy on and turn this guy on. And now that the PC is powered on, I can access my desktop. Okay, so on the desktop, what I'm going to do, you could go ahead, now that we know our IP addresses, you could go ahead to your IP address and put in your IP address for PCB, which is, let me look over here, 172.16.1.60, 94. Okay, and my subnet mask is going to be 255.255.255.224. And my default gateway, can't forget that. If you leave out your default gateway, not only will it subtract points, but also your communications won't work. And let me check my document and just make sure those addresses are correct. So my router port is 65, that's my gateway, and my PC address is .94. Okay, so I've gone ahead and done that. So we're going to just go ahead and X out of that. Now I'm going to go to my terminal prompt, click on OK, and nothing. Okay, here's why. Let me just minimize that for a second. What did we forget to do? Well, when you plug in a switch, it comes on automatically. Routers have a power switch. So I've got to turn that guy on. Okay, now that I've powered on my router, hopefully, I will have a little bit better luck. Okay, so my router's booting. I have to wait for it to boot before I can start putting in my commands. Okay, so that is the basics on getting started on these on this final packet tracer. And make sure you read your instructions carefully, because like it says, there's 3 different scenarios and they're all going to be similar. You're going to be dividing up a network into 2 or more subnetworks, and make sure you get those numbers correct before you do anything else. And then you'll have to go through all the hassle of moving the devices to the rack and then cabling them up and powering on. If you have one router, then you just have to power that one on. If there's multiple routers, then you'll have to power them both on. But for this assessment, I don't think you'll have more than one router. Okay, that is it for right this minute, and hopefully this helps you get started. Oh, one more thing. Whenever you're finished with your packet tracer and you've got everything complete, you're not going to be able to do that check results thing like we normally do. What you're going to wind up doing is down here at the bottom, you're going to click on Submit, and then Cisco will automatically grade your packet tracer. Now, you do have multiple attempts on this, so if you try it and you get a grade that you don't like, then you can start all over again. And you can do that as many times as you want to, I think. But hopefully you're going to have good luck and get it all done right the first time and get an A on this. All right, thanks very much. I'll see you in the next one.